So we are talking about bot protection. So stop the bots. I call this AI's auth challenge. A little about me. I'm Colin. I'm the co-founder at Clerk. We do auth for React. That's at least how people like to think of us. So really simple, like sign up, sign in, user profile components. We manage millions of MAUs, and we love AI companies. So far and away right now, AI companies are like all of our growth. It's actually kind of crazy. We have a very like normal distribution, I'd say, of like apps launching across a lot of different industries, but then all of the growth is like coming from AI companies, and it's been really fun to watch, and ultimately really fun to help these AI companies with bot detection. So kicking things off here, just like why do you already, or why will you need to care about bots? The short answer is that there are a bunch of like repositories out there, or just attackers out there. This one is called GPT for free, that are just scripts to attack various different AI providers and just get free AI compute out of them. This isn't really like a dark web thing too, right? It has 42,000 stars. It has a Discord, so you can go get help with taking AI compute. And so we have like some customers in this list, and it's been, basically this persistent challenge of like, how do we stop these, fairly robust scripts, right? Like they change IPs, they change user agents, they spin up emails on the fly. Like, how do we stop them from signing up and taking free compute? Because I think the other thing that's interesting about AI companies is they like to offer a little bit of like try before you buy. And that's great, but we need to make sure that, the few bots aren't ruining it for everyone else. So yes, my message, if they haven't come for you already, they will come for you. And I guess my other message is, why should we handle it at the auth level? To like illustrate this a little bit, we run bot detection across our entire API, and it follows like a pretty normal distribution. Like there's some, so left-hand side is bots. There's some bots getting through pretty regularly. I think in general, this is not like, we don't have this expectation of perfection. Like something is always going to leak through. Anything in orange, it means we catch it. Anything in purple, this method at least will not catch it. But if you look at just our signup endpoint, which is contained in this, it's really surprising, but like everything is consolidated into our signup endpoint. And what we found is that, if we can stop bots from signing up, then we can basically stop them completely. So we are taking this very seriously. So 3 ways to stop bots from signing up. I don't want this to just be like a Clerk sales pitch. And so it's not going to be a Clerk sales pitch. The first and maybe like easiest way to stop bots from signing up is only have sign in with Google as an option on your website. Technically, you can configure Clerk to run in this way. But what this effectively does is you piggyback on Google's bot detection. And so, I don't know if you've created like a new account with Google recently. It's not the easiest thing to do. And as a result, this is a very like robust way to handle things. This is what we use as like our fallback for customers when things are just, when bots are like leaking through, we'll tell them like, oh, just turn off email password sign up for a little bit, and this will make them go away. And then we can turn it back on in a little bit. We've luckily are doing that fewer and further between. But yes, like Google is actually very good at this problem, and you can just rely on them. But like you probably do want other sign-in methods, right? The traditional email password is in most sign-in forms today. It looks a little funny if you're missing that. And so, yeah, like the next step is basically try to use like a managed service like Clerk that is actually trying to handle this problem for you. And then the last way, and really what we're going to talk about for most of the time today, is build it all in-house. And hopefully some of these principles you can use even if you kind of do choose one of these first two options. I think just understanding kind of what works against these things is helpful.
Just a quick question, Colin, in the chat. David Head from Showcase, he runs showcase.so, which is a portfolio builder. He asked, would sign in with LinkedIn have the same kind of protection as sign in with Google?
The answer is I do not know. I think Google's particularly good at it. It's nice that they're not a social network. I think social networks are more optimized on like engagement, and they probably care less about this stuff than Google does, who has like a real security imperative. Definitely give it a try. Like I can tell you, Twitter is bad at it, right? Like anyone that reads Elon's tweets knows Twitter's bad at bots. But yeah, anything that's sufficiently larger than you should be slightly better at it than you is kind of how I think about it. Now I pulled up the chat. How would this compare to Auth0? So with Auth0, just keep in mind that it really depends how you implement the API. If you're implementing it from your backend, you're losing a lot of the ability to block bots, and I think we'll get into that more. But it actually is really helpful to be processing the traffic directly, because if you're using like a secret key to run off, you're effectively a bot, right? Like you're a bot within the AWS region, and so like Auth0 could be missing a lot of that context. There are other ways to implement Auth0 that will not do that. You can use their lock thing, and that will help. I cannot tell you with any confidence like who is better, us or Auth0, at bot detection. I think chances are we're both pretty new to this. And there's things you could do, like OpenAI uses Auth0, and you could tell that they're struggling with it still. So short answer is I don't know, but at the very least, make sure you're integrating it in a way that like gives them a fighting chance, because otherwise it's all going to be on you. So yes, 5-layer bot detection and how we think about it. So first thing is header analysis. So basically, the second we process a request, we can look at its headers and make a decision about whether or not it's a bot. Things will leak through this, but it is a good first line of defense, right? So you can see just in this distribution, like we are blocking a ton. This is probably something we should be blocking, but we're not. Like the header analysis isn't confident enough. And then these are all real users. The way this all works under the hood, it's like machine learning to detect bots. They're looking at HTTP and TLS data. If you wanted to build this yourself, and you're on Vercel, Vercel has a like integration with Datadome, and they have a Next.js example with Datadome to build this yourself. The x-axis it's like a confidence level of it's. So we use Cloudflare, and so this chart is from Cloudflare. If Cloudflare is very confident it's a bot, it goes to the left. If they're not, it goes to the right. And then, yeah, they tell us like 30 is kind of their own internal, hey, you should use 30 as your marker, where anything under 30 is a bot. And that's been generally good for us. Like, we're not getting false positives. We're really afraid to put our marker up here where, like, yeah, we'll stop more bots, but we'll probably get a lot of false positives. AWS also has a product here called Bot Control as part of their WAF. So WAF, if you've never heard that term, is Web Application Firewall. And so all the AWS offerings, you'll see they call it part of their WAF. All right. Second layer from here is CAPTCHA. I put CAPTCHA in quotes because basically I blame AI, right? Like, AI has gotten very good at beating CAPTCHAs. And so we've resorted to more browser fingerprint analysis than the caption or than the CAPTCHA itself. And yeah, I think we're probably mostly engineers on this call, and you feel a little funny about like leveraging a JavaScript fingerprint to do this stuff. But at the end of the day, it captures, like after the bot detection, this is more or less the order we do it too. So after the header analysis, this is still capturing, 2 in 10 fake signups, or 2 in 10 signups are still fake that we're capturing through this. So yeah, this is very helpful. You definitely want something. And what's cool too is a lot of them are invisible now. And so like the botd Vercel template, there's not actually any user experience impact. Cloudflare Turnstile is the same way. With Turnstile, you can Turnstile defaults in invisible mode to like a potentially false positive mode rather than a potentially false negative mode. And so you can integrate like an extra checkbox if you want to reduce false positives. But yeah, we haven't had tremendous false positive issues yet. And then Google reCAPTCHA, which still has a bit more traditional CAPTCHA to it, as well as AWS WAF. Like in theory, you guys could like implement all of this yourself as well. I would really struggle with like build versus buy on like the header analysis and the CAPTCHA stuff. Like these vendors are all really good, and in large part they're good because of the volume they've done it with. All right. So our next line of defense is good old-fashioned rate limiting. Basically, we look at our sign-up endpoint, and if there's, one client, and we define client on its IP, I guess. Maybe we should switch it based on its browser fingerprint. Then we block it. So we, like if someone's making more than 5 accounts in a day, like they don't need to be doing that. And so you can catch those challenges. Like you can see this chart is, I guess to give you a little sense, like this was like hundreds a day or something. But then some days you could see like someone left something running even though it wasn't getting anywhere. And yeah, that's just how that goes. On Vercel, Upstash is really good with like a distributed rate limiter. Again, we use Cloudflare for everything, and AWS has it as well. Next step is disposable email detection. Maybe this goes above. Technically, I should switch 3 and 4. Let me actually read that question. How does Turnstile compare to the others in that list? UX and DX is quite bad. Turnstile UX is just check a box. If you're presenting it, we use the invisible one. I can maybe agree on like the DX point. It's not the most lovely thing in the world. I don't know. Yeah, it's like hard from the front end, but then on the back end, it's just a API call. Yes, Upstash does have Upstash is really good at the rate limiting stuff. Cool. Okay. So disposable email detection, I think technically we do this before. Basically, yeah, when an email is signing up, there are a bunch of services that'll just tell you, is this a disposable email or not? All the bots use disposable emails. You can look at, you can look like within the GPT for free thing and how it generates emails on the fly. If also like if you're ever under attack, like you can normally just look at the emails it's using and they'll follow some pattern, and you can just hard code kind of on the fly if your disposable email detection isn't using it. Another benefit of these things is like tends to block human bots too. Human bots are really like the nemesis of at least these first two, where you can kind of imagine if you're using those that like, okay, so there's two levels of human bots. Like one is literally just a person like signing up. Very, very hard to block because they're not a bot. But honestly, even the like GPT for free, if you go and you like download it on your computer, it's like running a headless Chrome, and your IP is probably not like blacklisted at all. And so it'll take some reps before like the ML will start to catch. And so some are going to leak through. But what's nice is that if they're using these disposable emails, like this will catch that. There are like 1,000 of these APIs seemingly. SendGrid email validation is kind of like the big company one. API layer, Kickbox, like just Google like email validation API, and there's tons of them. Last line of defense, I think I hinted at it. It is quite literally just have a human. We have, things come in support like, hey, a bot's getting through, and someone goes and they'll go and find the pattern and hard code against it. It sucks, but yeah, sometimes you just have to do it. You can also set up like spike alerts, and so we'll get notified if like an instance is having a really good day. Best case scenario, they're actually having a really good day, but unfortunately, it's pretty common that they're actually having a really bad day. Cool. Yes, and this is me a little too. You can hire me. Honestly, just use Clerk, and you have effectively hired me. My last rotation was this weekend. Something got through, and I was on call. I spent an hour on the phone with Cloudflare. Anyway, cool. So yeah, that's our 5 layers: header analysis, CAPTCHA or browser fingerprinting, rate limiting, disposable email detection, and humans. I did not mention SMS. For some reason, this is something that people like to grab for, like, oh, I'll just add phone number verification. People only have one of those. Like, it's expensive. So that's going to be your first problem. Also, it like welcomes in the SMS pumping attacks. And so if you're not familiar with it, basically you can go to certain countries and like go in cahoots with a SMS provider and get them to pay you for receiving SMS messages, because in some jurisdictions it's like, or in some countries it costs money to receive, and then they get kickbacks. And so there's these like, this is really what we dealt with before AI apps started happening. Yeah, there's these crazy networks of just SMS pumping bots. You can geo-restrict them. I spelled that wrong, but if you're not comfortable like geo-restricting to just inexpensive countries and countries that don't have these kinds of attacks, then it's basically like this pick your poison of, do you want to fight people on SMS pumping bots, or do you want to fight them on AI compute? Otherwise, like it is effective at stopping AI compute from being wasted, but it's not actually obvious that it's the cheaper of the two options. That's all I got. I'm Colin at Clerk.com, and tweets by Colin. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. Shout out to Colin. Thank you for
have a good one.
Spending an hour with us and teaching us about auth.
Yeah. Thanks. Congrats again.